to a weekend edition of the Business Intercept. It's Sunday afternoon, and normally I wouldn't be doing a video today, but over the weekend, or just before the weekend hit, one of the a real big business story kind of hit the airwaves. And I tell you, as I'm starting this channel, I keep trying to focus in on business, because that's what the Business Intercept is supposed to be about. Not politics, not social commentary, except for when those two areas intrude upon business. And we've had several stories over the last week or two that's been the case. And this is no exception. If you've watched CNN, Fox News, New York Times, if you've watched the news at all in the last 3 or 4 days, then you know that there's been some sort of controversy regarding Spanish food company Goya. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and take a look at the story, both from when it first broke, and we'll look at the news story from the New York Times, and then what has happened in the days since. All right, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so we're going to start first with NBC News here, which has a headline: Goya Food CEO said U.S. blessed to have Trump as a leader, and calls for a boycott quickly followed after his comments. What he basically said after remarks made after they had a session in which Donald Trump was signing some executive orders is, we're all truly blessed at the same time to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder. He said that, I believe we have some, so let's go ahead and play the video on this, and you kind of will see here.
It's such an honor and such a blessing to be here in the greatest country in the world, the most prosperous country in the world, and we continue to grow. And that's what we're here to do today. Our company was founded in 1936 by my grandfather, who left Spain at only 18 years old, did not know where he was heading, but he was heading and looking for opportunity and prosperity, and he found it in this great country. Today, our company is a multi-billion-dollar company with thousands of employees and with facilities all around the globe. We have a tremendous group of what we call La Gran Familia Goya, the Goya family, the great Goya family. And these are people, I told the president earlier, we haven't gone back to work, we never stopped working. Because when I asked our group, our family, this is going to be a tough thing, they said, look, Bob, if we don't do it, nobody will. And they stood up and they worked, and we continue to work day and night to provide much needed food and nutrition to this country. Today, it gives me great honor. And by the way, we're all truly blessed at the same time to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder. And that's what my grandfather did. He came to this country to build, to grow, to prosper. And so we have an incredible builder, and we pray. We pray for our leadership, our president, and we pray for our country, that we will continue to prosper and to grow.
Now, as soon as he said that, the remark set off a wave of criticism of the New Jersey-based company, which was founded in 1936 by European immigrants. I bet you all those people out there that buy that Spanish food didn't know it was founded by Europeans. So Goya Foods didn't immediately make a comment, but Julian Casco, former presidential candidate, had this to say on Twitter. Goya Foods has been a staple of so many Latino households for generations. Now their CEO, Bob Unanue, is praising a president who villainizes and maliciously attacks Latinos for political gain. Americans should think twice before buying their products. Okay. Many Latinos feel Trump has dehumanized and attacked south of the border immigrants for political gain, starting with the 2015 launch of his presidential campaign. it's shameful and appalling that the president of Goya Foods is praising the most anti-Latino president in the history of our country. Latino Victory Fund CEO Natalie Reyes said by email. Well, then of course we've got the Southern Poverty Law Center. Let's take a look at the New York Times. So as soon as he said this, you had the comment from Julian Castro. Of course, AOC put forth a tweet saying that she was going to start looking up how to make her own seasoning so she wouldn't have to buy Goya products anymore. And of course, there's a whole bunch of things on Facebook about it and Twitter as well, with people, saying that they're going to boycott this company. Now, it's interesting because I forwarded this onto my Facebook page. And in fact, what I'm going to do here is, you know what, I'm not even going to do that. I'll just tell you, because I was going to show you the comment that someone put on my Facebook page, but it'll take a little bit too much editing and annoyance to go ahead and try and blur out their name, so I'll just leave them alone. I won't blow up their spot. But basically, this was a girl I know of Caribbean descent who made the comment that most of the people on my board don't even buy Goya foods. Don't even eat the foods that Goya seasonings and foods are used to prepare. And to a certain degree, she's right. I mean, she's right. There are a lot of conservatives who don't use Goya foods, just like there are a lot of black people who don't use Italian foods because they don't cook Italian and because they're not Italian. But that comment struck me as a little bit odd because the opposite would be true as well. There are a lot of people who are complaining about this, who are nothing more than rich white liberals, and they don't eat Goya foods either. They don't eat Spanish food either. So it depends on how you want to look at it. At the end of the day, the interesting thing about this is when Barack Obama was in office, this president, this CEO, was invited to the White House for something similar. And he went. Because if you're a CEO of a major corporation or a large business and you get invited to the White House, if you're smart, you go. So he went. Trump invited him, and so he went to that as well. But of course, one is okay and one isn't. So now, because of that, a boycott has begun surfacing. So let's take a look at what the New York Times says. Of course, the president of Goya Foods was at the White House on Thursday to announce that the company would donate 1 million cans of chickpeas and another 1 million pounds of food to food banks in the U.S. As part of the Hispanic Prosperity Initiative. An executive order from Mr. Trump, or President Trump, New York Times, use your proper honorifics. That was created to improve access to educational and economic opportunities. During the appearance, Mr. Unanue, I'm probably saying that wrong, but sometimes you just don't say it right. We are truly blessed at the same time to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder. And we have an incredible builder. And we pray. We pray for our leadership, we pray for our president, and we pray for our country that we will continue to prosper and to grow. Now, this hardly seems like that large of an endorsement, so to speak. Trump is a builder, can't deny that. He is the president. If you're smart, you want any president to be successful for the country. I know some people will quibble about that because certainly, Mitch McConnell said he didn't want Obama to be successful, but that's because he didn't want Obama to be successful in his socialist policies. He didn't want him to fail as president. He wanted the socialist policies to fail. So there's a huge distinction. But be that as it may, he's the CEO of the country. Obviously, the Latino consumer base is their largest marketplace. And so he cares about the issues as it pertains to Hispanics and Latinos. And so coming to the White House for an initiative that's supposed to help his own people seems like the right thing to do. And if you're going to do it and speak afterward, it doesn't seem smart to start criticizing the person that just invited you to the White House for an initiative that's going to help your largest block of consumers. I mean, does that make sense? But to a lot of people, it doesn't. And so now of course, as we've already seen, his comments drew swift condemnation on social media from people who were upset that a company whose products are popular among Latinos and others would support openly a president who has vilified immigrants. And, you know, let's kind of highlight this right here, because this is the word kung fu that in the media people try to use. Donald Trump has never vilified immigrants, ever. Not from the moment he announced his presidency. What he vilified were illegal aliens. Illegal aliens are not immigrants. I know that hurts some people's feelings, but the accurate description of an immigrant is somebody who comes into the country legally. They come here to work, go to school, and they do so by filling out paperwork. If you don't fill out paperwork, then you're not an immigrant. If you pay a coyote from the drug cartels to guide you through the desert, to put you in the back of a truck or a moving van or a shipping container, if you come over to the U.S. in a shipping container from Asia or Africa or wherever, you're not an immigrant. You are an illegal alien. You are essentially the same as someone breaking into your house. And so they try to make this distinction where anyone coming into the country is an immigrant. Now, obviously, that's just false on its face. But the bigger issue is, apart from the social and political connotations, is for the last couple of weeks, we've had all kinds of articles about the cancel culture because it is in high gear. And recently, I think it was in Harper's, there was a letter signed by some people liberals fighting against the idea of the cancel culture, many of which who signed that letter and then unsigned it later on. No one seems to have the willingness and the spine to not back down, except for the CEO of Goya Foods. So when we go back, no, I don't want to go to that one yet. Let's go to, I'm going to take this back to my quick, right here. So, now we're going to go over here and look at a couple things, because he does not back down. Let's see, where is it? There was one part. Let's just do this correctly. Goya CEO doubles down. Yeah, let's just find that. Okay, now, normally what happens with these things is a CEO, a star, sportscaster, somebody in the media, somebody with prominence who you think has something to lose, makes a comment, somebody gets upset about it, and then they come out and grovel with an apology. Okay? The CEO of Goya did not do that. So, as soon as they said that they were going to boycott and that he should apologize and explain and do all these other things, he basically said they are killing our nation. Goya Foods CEO slams boycott of his brand and says protesters are the same people who are tearing down statues of Jesus Christ as he doubles down on Trump's support. Okay, and we are with the president, we are with this country, you know, right, left, center, up, and down. So basically what he's saying is, look, whoever the president is, he's going to support them because he supports the country that he lives in and that he's a citizen of. I'm not so sure whether that's a bad thing. But again, since we are living in a cancel culture, to think that a true boycott could not harm the company in the short term would be foolish to think. primarily because we've seen that liberals are willing to push their boycotts and their economic chastisement of people that don't agree with them pretty regularly. Okay? However, for once, people who are conservatives and who support the president are fighting back. So, as reported here on Fox Business, a Goya boycott begins as customers load up on product after Trump backlash. So, hearing what to say, many took to social media to express their displeasure with the Goya Foods CEO after he praised Trump. We already went over that. So, others are flipping the narrative and calling for a Goya Foods boycott. My brothers came up with a terrific idea, and I'm encouraging all to join me in purchasing $10 worth of Goya food products and donating them to your local food bank. Self-described conservatarian radio host Mike Opeka wrote on Twitter, "Let's push a boycott, not a boycott. Let's show the Goya people what compassion can do." The post received 27,000 likes. Mark Levin also put out this tweet, "Go out and buy your Goya foods today." Okay. And then Marco Rubio, Cuban, who was buying these things for years, obviously, made the more accurate point that I made a few minutes ago, which is most of these people fronting about a Goya boycott either don't use Goya foods anyways, and most of those who do will cave by, I don't even know what that's supposed to mean, but whatever. So he puts this big thing about loves toy. So basically, what's happening is people are encouraging to go out and buy Goya foods. And this is interesting because, this is obviously because conservatives are trying to fight against the narrative that the CEO shouldn't praise the president, and they want to show Goya Foods and the president that, hey, there are people out there that will support you if you don't back down. But let's look at the broader context of this. And the broader context is simply, in the cancel culture, companies have to make a decision. Individuals within companies have to make a decision about what it is they believe and how far they're willing to stand for that belief. Because we are in a moment in time in this country in which, whether you are the CEO like this gentleman is, or just a straight, line normal employee, what you say and what you support, if not from a certain point of view, will be used against you. And, look, there are a lot of reasons why people might not like the current president of the United States. And certainly, there are a lot of reasons why liberals don't like conservatives, and conservatives don't like liberals. But this is America. And in America, everybody has a right to say what they believe is true. They have freedom of speech. And that does not give liberals the freedom or the right to try to take that away from people or harm them for engaging in their American right to dissent from what, the Democrats or liberals or leftists believe. And, if I could take a step back from the business side for a second, because this has larger implications. This is exactly the type of behavior we see in militaristic countries like China, Cuba, Soviet Union, North Korea. Basically, in these types of regimes, you have to believe what the people in power tell you to believe. And if you don't, you get arrested, you get harassed. Now, liberals right now don't have the power to do the things that Castro does or that what happens in Venezuela. They don't have the things to do what Russia does. They don't have the ability to do what happens in North Korea. But they're using other means to essentially do the same thing. Today, you can write a tweet and tomorrow lose your job. Not for any reason that you should lose your job, but because a mob comes after your company and starts blowing up your your Twitter, blowing up their Twitter, blowing up their email because they don't like that you don't like Black Lives Matter, or that you say all lives matter, or that you like President Trump. Think about before President Trump was the president. Conservatives didn't like President Barack Obama. Some conservatives hated him. But none of them liked him. But there's not a single conservative that tried to get people fired from their jobs for supporting Barack Obama. Conservatives during the time of Obama's presidency would certainly have called for boycotts on certain issues, like the idea of allowing men in the female bathroom. But none of those calls were because of Barack Obama. And certainly you didn't see people getting canceled left, right, and center for their beliefs in things that Democrats or liberals believe in. But in the opposite direction, that type of common sense doesn't prevail. This is something that Ben Shapiro has been talking about for years, particularly since they've been trying to cancel his speeches. This is something that's been bubbling up, and now it's starting to really reach beyond just college campuses and into higher levels of employment and business. And it's dangerous because what can be done to someone else today can be done to you tomorrow. One of the big things about the leftist movement, of course, is that in many ways it's fractured. And we're already beginning to see arguments between people who want Black Lives Matter to really be about police brutality and the founders and other members of Black Lives Matter who want to focus on transgender things or want to focus on economic things. Okay? If you're hurting this particular company when it gives so much charity for the Hispanic community, employs so many people in the U.S. and outside the U.S., it just doesn't make sense. Now, people can decide to buy what they want. If you think he likes Trump and you don't want to, use that company anymore, go ahead. But to say it's wrong for him to go speak at the White House with Trump and to praise the president itself is incorrect. And it's going to have a backlash. Now, as a practical matter, you got to ask, look at this picture right here. How many conservatives really know what to do with any of this? I don't know, except that there's a large number of Hispanics that are conservative. There's a large number of blacks that are conservative. There's a large number of blacks that are from the Caribbean that are conservative, so they know all about this. And certainly, this is the day and age of Google. You can Google all kinds of things in terms of Spanish food. Lots of, quote, white people like going to Spanish restaurants. Well, here are the items that you need to make your own Spanish food at home. And there's plenty of recipes on the Goya website, food.com, that you can find to figure out how to do it. It could literally be a whole new culinary experience as we're all stuck at home. And so I think this is actually going to end up backlashing against it. I don't think the boycott is really going to get any real traction here. Time will tell, obviously. This is just, the last few days. The news cycle is quick. So for all we know, something else could happen, next week. Trump could send out a tweet that makes everybody forget about this. But certainly, short term, I don't think a boycott's going to outweigh the counter from the right on this. And I got to tell you, I'm just going to go to their website real quick here, because while I'm familiar with the food myself and the company, I don't eat a lot of Spanish food, but they have certain products. I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can find the ones that I'm talking about here. The beverages. If you like mixed drinks, if you like throwing some alcohol, some rum into some drinks that you think you would get at a resort in the Caribbean, I mean, these are the products you want to get. You know, they're coconut milk, coconut water. All of these are great mixes if you're going to be having a party. Even the tropical sodas, you throw a little vodka in there, some of them with a little rum, they're great. Or certainly if you go to their marinades, that makes it easier because you can just take the marinade, follow the directions on the back of it, and you know, you can make whatever it is. And of course they have all sorts of what do you want to call it? Recipes as well. So with the full assault going to counter this from conservatives, tweets, articles, videos, again, I don't think this is going to end up harming the company. And one thing for certain, no matter what side of the spectrum you are on, people who are in the middle, the independents, they respect people who have a backbone. In other words, when they see somebody you know, apologizing for something that they don't really have any reason to apologize for, they kind of look at them like, that's kind of wimpy. Why did they do that? I mean, it's one thing when you say something that's obviously offensive, like Deshaun Jackson did this past week when he started quoting Hitler. That's one thing. This is a completely different type of situation. And I think that ultimately Goya Foods is going to be rewarded for showing a bit of backbone and making it clear the type of good they do as a company in terms of the charitable works, in terms of their employees, putting out a quality product, and just saying, look, I support the country. I support its people. And ultimately, that's really the message that the CEO was really trying to get across. So that's it for this quick story here. If you have any comments, please post them below. Like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell for videos that are upcoming.